many of you know that sometimes you get some stinking thinking going on in your life? Anybody ever had that happen? Start to think, shameful thoughts or defeating thoughts or discouraging thoughts, and before you know it, you just have no confidence before God. You need to clothe yourselves in Christ Jesus, as Paul says to the Colossian church, because when you put on Christ, you begin to get that confidence. You begin to recognize, I'm a child of God. I am somebody. I am somebody. I've got what God says I've got. I am who God says I am. So I wanted to share just a few thoughts with you this morning, then I'm going to go quick. First thought is this. Our spiritual identity was stolen from us in the garden. We're talking about identity theft. Our spiritual identity was stolen in the garden. Let me just help you see this, okay? We're going to go all the way back to the first man and woman, the first human beings on the earth. You know the story, right? I mean, you've heard it a million times. You've been in church, right? In the garden, God created mankind. God created both male and female. Doesn't it say that in Genesis chapter 2? Genesis 3, that God created both male and female. God created, they weren't evolved. They didn't come from a big bang. That God spoke and human beings came into existence. But God said, of all the things he created, mankind was created in his image. It's real important. Doesn't say animals were created in the image of God. Doesn't say the universe was created. There was only one piece of creation, if you will, that was created in the image of God, and that's human beings. God created Adam and Eve in the very image of himself. Their identity was wrapped up in their spirituality. You with me? You tracking? Okay, so what happens? They're sitting in the garden, as it were, and it says the serpent comes in. Of course, the serpent is Satan himself, who's appeared in the form of a snake. And we're talking about a slimy, deceiving, cunning murderer. That's who Satan is. And he steps into the scene and he says, I know that God, your father said that you can have all that you eat from all the trees of the field, but you got to leave that one forbidden fruit alone, that one forbidden tree. But you need to understand that what he's really doing, he's trying to keep you from being like him. Question, were they not already like him? Come on now. It's important to understand this little link. They were already like him. He he confused them about their identity, right? Had they been thinking correctly, they got seduced, they would have said, you know what? I'm already like him. Get out of my face, huh? But no. Satan always wants us to want more. Well, you know the story. They lost their spiritual identity, didn't they? That's called the fall. That's what they call the fall. And so today we got people marching in the streets of San Francisco because they have, and we do this as humans, when we lose our spiritual identity, we look for it somewhere else. By the way, all these thoughts just came to me during the service. These aren't in my notes. I'm telling you the truth. You won't see anything about any of this stuff. But the fact of the matter is when we lose our identity, if we do not find it in Christ, we will find it somewhere else. And there's a whole lot of people trying to find their identity in their work and in their jobs and in their sexuality and all of this. And the problem with it is this. It does not cut the mustard in the end. It does not produce happiness in the end. It does not produce joy in the end. The suicide rate amongst just those in that community is horrendous. I know, I have friends that have called me and said, come and you need to help me. I just had a lady tell me this morning, didn't know anything about my message, says, hey, I need you, do you know anyone that could counsel someone who's 13 years old trying to figure out where they're at sexually? That's the new world we live in. Do you understand? And so now we've got media and the culture saying, this is the new identity. Jump in. If you feel it, jump in. The problem is this. You jump in and you've just bought the lie. It does not lead to true happiness. It does not lead to power. It's a fly in the ointment of what God had for his people. He wants us to relate to him as his children. But Adam and Eve, they bought the lie. They bought the lie that they weren't enough in God. And I believe that today lots of people are buying life. In fact, I believe everyone does until they come to Christ. I want to share a verse with you. Is there a verse that's next on that, Desi? Paul says this to the church at Corinth. He says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Okay? Anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. I just want to hang out here for a second. Paul says to the church, the church existed in a godless time. Corinth was a godless city. I mean, it was every bit as godless as our culture today. And in that godless culture, Paul was having to, there were young believers trying to figure out, I'm sure, their sexuality and everything else. In fact, Paul says, some of you were thieves, and some of you were homosexuals, and some of you were this, and some of you were, he says, were this and that, but then you've come to Christ, you're in a new identity. They had to be taught what their identity was. Because if you don't learn who you are, you'll probably act like who you were.